The women of Athens had probably the worst conditions of any woman in the ancient world. And I would say that women's lot in ancient Athens was closer to a woman's lot in Afghanistan under the height of Taliban rule than anything else.
Lloyd Llewellyn-Jones is one of the world's leading scholars of ancient Greece. He believes that its ideas about the nature of women were central to the myths that underpinned Greek identity.
So what we have here is a text by Hesiod, who is writing in about the 7th century BCE. He writes two texts, one called the Theogony and another called the Works and Days, in which he deals with the same myth. And this is the creation of the first woman, the Greek equivalent of the biblical Eve, if you like. And her name, of course, is Pandora. And we know her because she's sent down as a punishment for mankind. Now, if we look at the text, there's some really interesting things that we can pick out from what Hesiod is trying to tell us here. The first is what he calls Pandora when we're first introduced to her. Hesiod is in fact calling her genos gunaikon, the first of the race or the species, the first of the species of women. So in other words, what we have here fundamentally in a 7th century text, which is probably reflecting a much earlier idea, is that women are a separate species from men. Now in the myth, of course, in our English idea of it, she comes armed with this box.
But it's not a box, really.
No, you're absolutely right. What she comes with is a pithos. And a pithos is the Greek word for a jar. Now, the Greeks had a thought that a woman's womb was shaped like a pithos. So really what Hesiod is talking about here is Pandora, being made the first woman, comes with the first womb. And when, of course, inevitably that womb gets opened, and the opening, of course, is through intercourse, what flows out is all the evils of the world.
And their sexuality, though, is very much bound up with openings and closings.
Oh, completely. And leakage, the idea that women are miasmic through menstruation and so forth. And therefore, this unbounded woman with her appetites, her sexuality, needs to be bound. And that all becomes apparent in the use of the veil in the ancient Greek world.
If the veil was a way of drawing a curtain on what the Greeks found viscerally upsetting, then it was Aristotle who provided the most destructive rationale for it. For alongside the foundations of Western philosophy, he developed deeply incorrect ideas about the female body that would be just as influential.
Now, he thought of women as being something different. He didn't see them as a different species.
No, they're a sub-male.
That's right, exactly. So basically they are imperfect men. They haven't quite reached perfection yet because they haven't had semen to create what is the essence of man. And that is really the most influential thought to be garnished in the Greek world, which goes down into the classical Arabic traditions and consequently then into Christian and medieval traditions as well.
But this link also seems to be a justification for the idea that women are incapable of reason.
Yes, absolutely. So men in the Greek world are naturally sophroson, which means they have limits. They know their rationalities. They know their agenda. Women have no such thing, and therefore they have to be controlled by men all the time.
And it's a justification for domestic violence too. They must be chastised. It's the only instruction they know.
It all plays on the idea of the honour-shame nexus. Is so important for them. The honour of a household is located within the body of the female. And so any transgression on the part of that female, speaking out too loudly in public, laughing too much, obviously exposing the body in any way, is a transgression of that honour of the household and therefore is directed onto the men of that household.